Good day, entrepreneurs. Today we're going to cover why businesses fail. I'm not going to cover all the items that we have on your module. I think you have about 16 to 17 items, which are the reasons why most businesses fail. But I'm going to only focus on the top 5 from that list, which is generally the main areas that most businesses do fail. In this discussion, we're going to cover how you will actually be able to solve some of those problems. And we'll also deal with the root cause that causes these businesses to fail. Not just the symptoms, which I believe is why when we analyze this, but also analyzing what will you need to do to actually solve this problem. And let's take it to the board and then see how we're going to map these challenges. As we discussed earlier, the introduction for today, we're actually going to be covering why business fail. And in that, we're only going to cover 5 items. Out of those 5 items, we will work through what are the reasons behind this failure and what can you do to actually prevent it, but also what are the indicators that will lead you to see that that is where you are heading as a business. But one of the main things that actually make business fail is the mindset of the entrepreneur. Is the entrepreneur ready and understand the industry enough and is willing to learn to be able to actually deal with the challenges that the business is actually going to be challenging you on? And that usually for me is about understanding that when you are facing the problem and the problem is bigger than you, it's basically on 2 things that you can do. Number 1, as you are facing that challenge, in most cases as an entrepreneur, you find yourself that is you and this is the problem. At this scale, the problem is definitely bigger than you. And as you can see here, the problem is way higher. And in other instances, it can actually just drop you in. It's almost like you're in a hole when you have a problem that you cannot solve. In that time, you have few choices as an entrepreneur. You're either gonna sink, this problem is gonna sink you, or you're gonna actually start building up certain tools that are gonna help you to be able to be above this problem. The first tool that you're gonna need to actually work on is to understand that 1, that challenge that you are facing is not the first time an entrepreneur has come across. Somewhere, somehow, in the world, someone has actually solved that problem. And that problem can actually be solved. You have to believe that within your heart of hearts, that the problem that you are facing can be solved. Because if you do not believe that that problem can be solved, there is no way you can actually face that challenge. Number 2, as you're thinking through on coming up with solutions, start working out who are my mentors or coaches that actually can guide me on that specific challenge. So when it relates to mindset and the thought process, it's about also keeping your mind pure from thinking about negativity around that problem, the impact it will have if it doesn't get resolved. You cannot think that way because it means you're already failing. You're already putting yourself in a position to think that you will also not be able to solve it. Within that, when you are looking for your mentors, please understand it's not necessarily about finding someone that you can sit with and talk to. But it's also not about thinking that maybe I need to actually call someone or I need to pay someone to actually solve this problem for me. What you need to do, you need to list down all the areas that you need support in, that you think you have a problem in, and start mapping who are the people in that industry, in that area, that are subject expert in solving that problem. Let me make an example. Maybe one of the key areas that we have seen that entrepreneurs struggle with when it comes to finances. Maybe you know that you're not so strong in finances. Your finances in your personal capacity and also in the business are a little bit of a mess. Do you know who to go to? Do you understand that there is an information out there that can help you to actually deal with it? But maybe let's scale it down within finance and say maybe you're struggling with the debt. You cannot settle up certain debt, you have over-indebted yourself. What will be your first step? Do you know where to go to ask for the first step? And once you have done that first step, what will be the next step? So you're going to need to take time to find mentors and coaches in different areas in your space where you feel you don't have sufficient capacity or the problem is bigger than you. And once you have found that mentor, you then follow what they are saying. As most of the time what we have found is that most entrepreneurs actually do not want to be told. There is no accountability. Do not want to be told on what to do when they have a problem. They somehow think that doing a certain thing in a certain way will actually solve the problem, and they will not follow the processes. And that is across almost entrepreneurs. They will be arrogant to say, I don't need advice on what I need is this. Whereas they don't understand that for you to get this, whatever that you are looking for, you're gonna have to go through a process. And I think you have seen that in several times from someone who will win a lotto, for example. And within a very short space of time, they have lost all the money that in their mind, when they went to it, they thought this money will last them and their entire life. The reason why they have gone and lost it like that is because they don't understand the process and the mindset of someone who actually is a multimillionaire, because they just got to be multimillionaires within a very short space of time. So you're going to need to understand when you're solving the problem, understand the process. What caused this problem? What could have been the things that I should have picked up as I was living, as I was going and continuing, that will actually have been an indicator for me, almost like your yellow flag or your robot saying, it's green now, which is good, it's orange now, not when it's red, the fence has already been all over, you are already on a mess. So by then it's too late. So when you feel a little bit overwhelmed, the problem is bigger than you. As I said, first you need to look at tools. What tools are out there for me? Two, who can I speak to in these tools? Who told me? Who told me these are the tools? Because here I'm not only just referring to some people who are coaches and mentors, I'm also looking at you starting to look within your community and seeing who are your models, who are the people that are portraying the success that you are looking for. Can you start talking to them? Because I think, again, as entrepreneurs, we tend to sit in our own corners and not necessarily push ourselves to find the solutions. So once you have done that, you then start modeling those mentors, following their instructions. And as you do that, you're also gonna need to start working on yourself as an entrepreneur to grow beyond this problem. So this problem at the beginning might have been bigger than you, but you need to start growing yourself. As you implement what your mentors and coaches are telling you, you then start learning and growing yourself. How do you do that? You set time. And I know time with entrepreneurs usually don't have, but you're gonna need to set time to learn. You're gonna need to set time to learn more about that problem, to learn more about what led to that problem, to learn more about what to do, what should be your next step. Remember, the advice that you will get from the mentors and coaches is just pure and advice. Sometimes the how is difficult in your environment. You're gonna need to figure that one out. So on that example of maybe having been over-indebted yourself, the first step will be to establish how much exactly do I owe to who? those monies when they were due, when they were overdue. And the step number 2 will be calling those suppliers or calling those people that you owe money to. Step number 3 is to figure out what is affordable to you, so that when you're talking to them, you are saying to them, this is the only thing I can afford. Or can we hold my installment? Give me another 6 months. After 6 months or after 3 months, I will come back and then pay the balance. Or this is how I will pay it. So all that information, all that, you must be clear what is within your control and what is outside of your control. Remember, entrepreneurs, you need to have a mindset of only working on things that you can control. Stop focusing on things that you cannot control. And understand also that as you're building up, any business is about relationships. So if you do not actually have that open discussion with the people that you owe money to, and you have not been transparent as to your affordability, then you're the one who's on fault. And that is why maybe this stress, and this is because you do not understand that at the end of the day, debt and liabilities of owing someone is about the trust. And for you to actually grow from that type of problems, you're going to need to be transparent and honest about your current situation than hiding it. So I hope this has helped you to understand that yes, there could be a problem that why businesses will fail, but how you solve it, how you respond to it, that is solely on you. The tools that you have put aside, and you use the same systems. So one of the biggest challenges that entrepreneurs have will be a cash flow. So maybe let's say you have a problem with cash flow. Again, you're going to need to sit down and analyze, how come my business has a challenge with the cash flow? Am I pricing my business and my product, my value that I'm bringing in the business, is that correct? Is what I'm charging for each of my services and also my product, is it a fair price? Have I done a price analysis to make sure that that price that I'm charging is actually the product that we are building up, that based on what we have actually analyzed as our cost? Or do I charge because I just want to get a customer? And by the way, entrepreneurs, there's nothing wrong by you getting a price that is lower than the market, only if you are clear on what is your strategy. For example, you could decide, you know what, this is a big client. They are pushing me for the price to be low, but maybe let me put few conditions. For example, at one time I had a similar situation where I got a contract from one of my personal professional bodies, and having been resourced by that professional body, for me was quite big, because it meant that they trust the content and the information that I was actually having. Understanding that I was still starting up and having them as a client was going to position me as a subject expert in that area made me to say yes. But then when I started analyzing, I said yes, subject to. One, I looked at the logistics. Usually when we do training, we also do logistics, i.e. the transport, the training material, and the rest of coordinating the participants. So the logistics, I said to them, I will not take over the logistic. The only thing that I will do, I will just show up on the day that you want me to show up, and I will run the training, run the evaluation, then I leave. Everything else you will do. That cutted my cost by another 20%. I also added another thing and say, if I've done a great job and the participants have rated me with a 5-star, you will issue me with a testimonial on what in your letterhead. That reference, I still have it today. I use it. It's so old, but I still use it because of how I position myself, but how also I'm using the core branding of that professional body to my profile to show that I'm actually a subject expert in that area. So you need to be very strategic if you're going to actually be accepting a price that is lower. That is why it's important for you to analyze and check, am I charging the price that is low? How do I then make sure that I capitalize? What do I need to take out? What is the most important thing that I do in my business that the client cannot do? What are the things that the client can do to reduce my cost and burden so that then I can still make a little bit of markup? By the time I was done with that project, I was actually profitable because I have analyzed and I know what is my core competence, what's the most important thing in a project. And this also relates to entrepreneurs choosing. So I will go to the number 2 reasons why we also fail as a business. We tend to select and do everything. Today, you're an accountant. The other day, you're a marketer. The other day, you're a director. The other day, you're running to fetch things somewhere. You're a delivery boy. All of it. We don't know the value we bring in our businesses. We overstretch ourselves. We tend to do things that do not add value on what we're doing. But those things require to be done. You just need to figure out in your business, what is it that is your core competence? What are you good at? And only stick and do things that you are good at. And because if you do that, that's the value that you bring to your customers. And anything else, figure out how do you outsource it? How do you get other people to actually help you? How do you get interns? Guys, there's even interns that you can get from sitters, you can get them from colleges. You can go to some colleges and FET colleges that can help you to actually find interns that are finishing, that needs experience, that will not qualify unless they have that experience. So you need to figure out what are the most important things in your business, and this is a continuous assessment. As you're doing your to-do list, ask yourself, what is the most important thing? Do the most important thing. That is relating to you, that only you can do. Anything else, figure out how to get support. There's even other, I will list out some other support that you can get from different platforms in the internet. I will list all of them in the site below, but I will also make sure even on the material, additional resources. Now you can actually even get remote workers, someone somewhere in Palestine doing certain things for you. Someone doing something, maybe they're in the US, maybe they're in the UK. The point is, there is resources available. You need to start valuing your own time so that you know the value you're bringing. There's no value in you delivering things. You might as well pay a courier company to collect and deliver something than you driving, going up and down instead of you getting your mind focused. I also want to say that in most cases, the entrepreneurs actually do not necessarily understand that in business, you operate in 3 levels. Level number 1, you're an employee running around and doing things. Number 2, you're a director, i.e. a manager of the business. Number 3, you're a shareholder, the investor, the person who started this business. Now, you tell me, who get paid the least out of these 3 people? I hope your answer is correct. Number 1, that's a person who get paid the least. Why the employee get paid the least? Because he does things. He's a doer. Whereas a manager is a thinker. And because of that difference, the employee is always replaceable. But it's difficult to replace what? A manager. So understand that you get paid for thinking, not for doing. Start taking more time to think through problems that you are facing, how you're going to solve them, finding solution, and solving those problems. And as you build up yourself and you have that mindset that that problem has already been solved somewhere else, and that talks to the attitude that you're going to have. And you have to understand everything passes. No matter how big that problem is, you have to understand that things do pass. You just need to hold on. Just hold on and figure out how to hold on until that problem passes. And also have a way of managing yourself to know you're doing what? Only the important things. Number 3 out of the challenges that I've highlighted is just bad planning. Bad planning is also linked to number 4, which is most entrepreneurs do not dedicate time to understand the industries that they're at. So bad planning, people within the space, within the environment that they're operating in, they don't even understand the trends of their industry. They don't understand what influence those trends. They don't even know who are the pioneers in their industry. And as a result, they then always are catching up, always catching up. Guess what? When you keep on catching up, you are letting the industry and everyone dictate to you what to do and how to do it. Therefore, you won't be disruptive in your industry. You won't be innovative in your industry because you're just reacting. Sit back and ask yourself, on my products and services that I'm offering, what are the things that I can do that can break through into the market? What is it that is not being done right now? And please do the research, contact competitors, contact customers, contact leaders. Look at within the top 40 of the industry, top 20 industries, who are the leaders in your industry. Look at what the professional bodies in your industry are actually doing. Look at the research papers. Look at the universities that run special programs and look what they have published. Do a proper research on understanding what is missing in the market. And then once you have collected that information, you then take time to plan what will be disruptive in my industry and what will make me to be what they think about as a number 1 in that industry, and how do I position myself. Once you have done that planning, you then do your strategy. You truly will be covering the strategy and business model. Please make sure you prepare for that. Go through it. Because once you have built up the strategy, then you can actually have some sort of a blueprint on how you're actually going to build up and go to the market and build up your business plan and activities. So most entrepreneurs are not planning. So start planning. And sometimes it's difficult when you have not done this analysis, you have not done the sit back and think through, you have not done enough research. It takes time. Maybe start by planning your day. Start by planning your week. Start by planning your month. Because that is why most people struggle. Their productivity goes up and down, up and down. The reason why the productivity goes up and down is because you are not planning. You are letting the whole world dictate to you what you are doing the following day. Start understanding that planning helps you not to have anxiety. Planning also helps you to have lesser stress. Planning also helps you that when things are not happening in one area, you can work on something else while you're waiting for other things to move. Then you're not going to be touching too many things, which also is another challenge for entrepreneurs. Because you don't plan, today a customer asks for this, you say yes. The other customer comes and asks for something else, you still say yes. The whole market is confused. What exactly does this person do? You're no longer focusing on the niche or a specific problem. Let me say this. When you have entered into a market and they don't know your name, but they know what you do, you will have got the market. So they don't need to know who you are, but they need to know what you do and how are you different from someone else or the next guy in your industry. The next one that I wanted to find out, which is number 4, is build up, find the industry leaders and follow them on Twitter, on social medias, all the platforms. Subscribe to their newsletter. Go to GSE and identify the listed companies and follow them. Follow what they are actually releasing. Start reading what is happening in that industry, in your industry, so that you can have a better planning. I think I would like to touch on the last one that is relating to you understanding that a business is about system. A business is about building processes. But you're not going to build systems when you're not doing planning. You're not going to build systems when everything that you are doing is ad hoc. You are not focusing on a specific niche. You're touching everything. Today you're in construction, SaaS, catering. I mean, all that. You're going to need to be clear. What do you want to be known to do? And then be narrow in your strategy. So what do I mean when I say be narrow in your strategy? Let's make an example. If, for example, I'm in catering and I'm catering for corporate events, and now maybe I see that the demand is going lower, I can still go on catering, but cater maybe for a specific diet. Maybe for people that are gluten-free. Maybe I can design a specific diet for people who are diabetic, or people who are maybe want to do a diet like a keto diet or something like that. So with all of that, you can then be able to say you're still in catering, but you are now focusing mainly on a specific niche. You don't need to now start doing something else or starting selling the food on the street or stuff like that. You need to figure out how to go narrow within that strategy. And then maybe you can cater for big events. You can then, but again, you're going narrow. You're still providing catering, but you've just mapped out a different niche. So at the end of the day, entrepreneurs, it's about your mindset. It's about your planning. It's about how easy and comfortable you are in your industry to make certain decisions. But the last one, it's about understanding that for you to make a mark in the market, you gotta need to be disruptive. And I hope you're gonna really listen very closely to this session when she's talking about strategy and innovation. I think she also has included a few things in relation to business model canvas. Because once you have those tools, they will help you to overcome the problems and the challenges that you are actually facing in your business. Just remember, the reason why the problem is bigger than you is because you do not know enough about the problem. Therefore, build yourself up, learn more about the problem, know the problem as your hand. By the time the problem is in your life to grow you, therefore you're the one who needs to grow. There's nothing you can do about the problem. Get the mentors and coaches around you and not be arrogant to think you know it all. Nobody does. And good luck. Thank you.